Hello again. One begins to wonder whether the British government is all that keen on old people. One of the first acts of the new government, when voted in last summer, was, of course, to scrap the winter fuel payments for pensioners. Then they gave parliamentary time to a bill which would make it possible for the old and incurably ill to be assisted by the government in committing suicide. Now a health minister has expressed the hope that many pensioners die before the next election. He also made a lot of anti-Semitic remarks and so on, but it is the apparent dislike of old people which really caught my eye. Andrew Gwynne was a member of a WhatsApp group and had a few things to say on the subject of old people. One 72-year-old woman had the temerity to contact a local councillor who belongs to the Labour Party because she had a problem with her bins. Gwynne suggested replying to her to the effect that nobody cared about her problems, he put it rather more crudely than that, and that with luck she would die before the next election. One rather suspects that this hatred of the old is something fairly common among members of the Labour Party. It will be recalled that after this country voted in favour of leaving the European Community in 2016, many Labour Party members expressed the view that this was all the fault of old people, and that it was the baby boomers who had messed everything up. For a year or two it was said quite openly that it might be worth having another referendum after a few years, because many of the old people who had voted for Brexit would have died by then. Mind, I can see the point here. I've remarked before that most old people are stuck in their ways and will continue to vote for the same political party until they die. For this reason, Tory voters will carry on voting for the Conservatives and Socialists will always vote Labour. Because they're so set in their ways, it's hardly worthwhile any political party trying to court old voters. It's a waste of time. They're not going to change their minds. That's why it was felt to be fairly safe to scrap the winter fuel allowance. True, many old people would be annoyed about the move, but very few of them would change their voting habits as a result. I think this is also why Andrew Gwynne was not worried about saying rude and insulting things about old people on the WhatsApp group. In the first instance, he knew that all those on the group would very likely agree with him when he expressed the hope that many old people would die before the next election. Labour's voting base is most secure among young people and immigrants. The death of a load of old white people cannot fail to be of advantage to the Labour Party. Then again, it hardly mattered if the old woman he was being offensive about would get to hear of his views, because she had already admitted that she didn't vote Labour at the last election. Why bother to mince your words when speaking about such a person? It rather looks as though old people are surplus to Labour's requirements, and that they would be happy indeed if all those over the age of 65 simply faded away and stopped being a nuisance. That age group are also responsible, of course, for damaging the image of the NHS, and that too makes the government look bad. They block the beds and put all kinds of demands upon NHS services. Take all those old people out of the equation and things would be running a good deal more smoothly in Britain's National Health Service. I honestly think that Andrew Gwynne was merely expressing a generally held view in the Labour Party, and because of that it's a little rough for him to be singled out in this way. In the description to this video I give a link to a news item about this matter.